This podcast contains detailed plot spoilers, adult language, and mature themes. Listener discretion is advised.
We're taking you back when college campuses were still filled with jokesters, douchebag authority figures, and government military contracts for weapons of mass destruction. This is a podcast of rare antiquities. I am your host, Geoff.
This is Harry once again.
Awesome, man. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, we are talking about the 1985 comedy Real Genius, starring Val Kilmer. So, give me some thoughts. I think you mentioned you had never seen this film before.
No, I believe I was aware of this movie. I've known Kilmer's from only a few films, actually. I haven't seen a ton of his work. Not that I'm an expert on his filmography, but obviously Top Gun, The Saint, Tombstone, The Doors, these are kind of more of his more mainstream work. And obviously Ghost in the Darkness, I do enjoy that one as well. But I haven't seen this one. And in the 80s, I have no memory when I was young that this movie existed. But for some reason, I think when the internet became a thing, you're surfing and you're doing research or you're just figuring out things. And I think at that time, I recall hearing about this film. But yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I think it fell under the radar a little bit, although it is sort of his first major role. I mean, it's a smaller film because his next project after this movie was Top Gun.
Oh, so this was before Top Gun?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. The immediately before was this. So this is kind of his breakout role because he's obviously the lead or one of the leads in this movie. The director had kind of been credited with finding young talent. She had also directed a very young Nick Cage in one of his early screen roles in a breakout role for The Cage. Back in 1993.
With Cage, it's a different story. I mean, he had Uncle Francis Ford there, so...
Well, that's true. That's true.
Anyways, I'm sure she's found other talent there, so...
She directed Nick in the film Valley Girl from 1983, and that was actually the first movie where Nick... Because that was his third on-screen appearance. The first of which where he used the surname Cage, or he dropped the Coppola surname.
Okay.
So that was when he started or tried to start to kind of break away from that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I've never seen Valley Girl or even heard of it before today.
I have heard of Valley Girl, and it's on a list somewhere.
So it's on a list somewhere.
In the back of my mind.
I read that, yeah. It also stars I can't remember her name, but she's the female lead in this movie as well. So she stars opposite Nick Cage in that one. So maybe we should cue up Valley Girl at some point here. In the poster, he's shirtless, so I figure right there.
Well, Nick Cage doesn't need to sell for us. For the rest of the world,
true.
maybe.
That's true. Yeah, Nick Cage sold.
Did you see his new trailer called Primal?
No.
Oh, just before you go to bed tonight, watch that one.
Okay. Done. Sold. Except for Con Air. Con Air can eat my ass. I hate that fucking movie. Anyway, I did not see this movie in the 80s when it was out. I probably did not watch this movie until maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, when I kind of discovered some of these 80s movies that I had missed because it's from an era. Like I was a little young probably for this type of movie when it would have come out, but it's definitely the type of movie that I I was digging as a young adult, sort of a contemporary of films that I love, like Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, and shit like that. So I definitely devoured a lot of these types of movies in the 90s and early 2000s, which is when I discovered it. And I go back to it every once in a while because Val Kilmer's in it.
So you're I wouldn't call diehard, but you are a fan of Val.
Yeah, I like the Val. Definitely.
You like the Val. Okay.
I love the Val. In Batman Forever, which we've done on the show, Tombstone was dope. I'm actually not a huge fan of the Ghost in the Darkness. It's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, The Saint is a piece of trash. But I mean, that's not Val Kilmer's fault. So.
Well, I don't watch The Saint for Val.
Oh, Elizabeth Shue's in The Saint, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
It's top-notch shoe. It's a slip-on for me. So.
I know we're getting off track here, but speaking of Elizabeth Shue, have you seen her on that new Amazon show, The Boys?
No, I have not seen The Boys, even though I want to. I unfortunately do not have access or will not subscribe. I am seriously in the hole with some tax problems, so I can't afford jack shit. So
you're gonna dig that show. Elizabeth Shue is quite terrific.
In more ways than one, or all around?
Let me tell you, she's got everything you're looking for in that show. Okay.
subscribing after this podcast.
In ways that may disturb you as well.
I'll take anything with the shoe.
Yeah, you're going to have weird boners for like 6 months after watching that.
Well, yeah, sign me up.
Oh, boy.
I didn't realize she was in it, so...
Yeah, she's got a major role in it.
I just knew Carl Urban. But anyways, yes.
Yeah, let's move on. So we'll just maybe jump to synopsis here. Any other opening thoughts before we dive in here?
No, I got my notes here. I'll bring them up as we go along.
All right, let's roll. All right, real genius. A cabal of shadowy government men sit around a table discussing their newest weapon, a laser beam that can obliterate a human target from orbit. There's just one problem. The laser does not yet exist. And if that laser isn't finished by June, some heads gonna roll. Professor Jerry Hathaway, the genius university professor and physicist, is the military's main man in charge of developing this death beam or laser star or whatever. And Hathaway has assigned this task to the perfect group, a crack team of horny, annoying, socially awkward college eggheads. Basically, the cast of The Big Bang Theory. There's 15-year-old wonderkind Mitch, dreamy prankster Chris, the pretty/ugly girl Jordan, a couple other flunkies, fucking Kent. Mitch is trying to succeed as a teenager in college, while Chris is more interested in pranks and girls. And then there's fucking Kent. The cast of oddball characters go to class, pull pranks, and work on a powerful assassination laser in a charming musical montage. Dr. Hathaway is busy renovating his house and telling those dipshit military guys that the laser will be ready when the laser's fucking ready. While at odds with each other and Hathaway, the kids solve the energy problem and figure out how to turn their faulty laser into a powerful killing machine. As they celebrate over a few cold ones, their basement-dwelling friend Laszlo asks a really good question that for some reason none of these other supposed geniuses never thought of. Just what is a portable, lethal laser weapon with a guidance system that can target human beings from orbit good for? Shut up, Laszlo, you nerd. Let the engineers figure that one out. Yeah, but wait, that's actually a pretty good question. So the Goonies rush back to the lab to find all their equipment has been taken. After surveilling Hathaway, they discover that the laser has been taken to a nearby Air Force base. Using some fake IDs and glue on a mustache, Chris and Mitch infiltrate the base and hook up the targeting system to a modem so Laszlo can control the coordinates from his hideout. When it's time to test the system, Laszlo decides that Dantooine is far too remote a target and instead focuses the beam on Hathaway's sweet new pad, which the kids have filled with popping kernels just for good measure. The laser beam fires, Hathaway's house is destroyed by several tons of popcorn, and the kids all learn a valuable lesson that causing millions of dollars in property damage is always fun and without consequences. The end.
Very concise.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of plot here. When I watched it and I read the screenplay and I went through again, I'm like, oh fuck, so much plot happens in this movie. It's hard to write a synopsis. So I definitely papered over some parts, but you get the idea.
Oh yeah, well that's the main story.
So just opening thoughts on the story, and does it sound like a comedy or what's up?
Well, the way you've worded it outside of college hijinks aspect to is sounds like war games or something a bit more serious. So tonality, if I was to read that or have that presented to me, I would think this is not a comedy, or parts of it maybe, especially at the end when you're saying you got popping kernel. But the one thing that did occur to me through your synopsis was the lasers, and I just can't think of Hippocrates Noah.
Yeah. So I forgot about it. Yeah, because he was using laser beams, right, to melt the ice caps. Hippocrates Noah.
On my island.
That's a deep cut right there.
Oh, yeah. When I hear that, I think of him, and I just wish for him now. So, Cage and Avery Brooks in a movie.
That should be the title of a movie there. I wish for Hippocrates Noah. Yeah. Great.
That's awesome.
It'd be like Waiting for Godot. He never shows up in the fucking movie. He's in a mental institution. Not the character, the actor who plays him.
He teaches in Pennsylvania or something like that.
I know. They let him out of his straitjacket every now and then.
Yeah, no, my sister was actually contemplating on taking class with Avery Brooks.
Why did she contemplate? Why didn't she just do that?
Well, she accepted a job in London, so...
I was going to say, she's too busy saving the world.
I don't know about saving the world. It's more like saying the world has its problems and there's nothing we can do about it. So.
Well, yeah, that's more accurate, that's for sure.
It's documenting the fall of humanity.
The downfall, yeah. Well, we're doing kind of the same thing here with this show, so I'd say we're right up there with her accomplishments.
Yeah, and we didn't have to spend 20 years in graduate school, so...
Yeah, exactly. We're just a couple assholes bitching about movies on the internet, I'd say that's relevant and cutting edge. All right, so let's actually kind of blew my trivia load in the previous section there, but give you a couple of details here. So Real Genius opened in August 11th, 1985. August is kind of the dog days of summer for movies. I know the blockbusters are kind of finished by the end of July. This would have been released without much fanfare. Pretty modest budget, $8 million approximately. Grossed a little over $12 million. So it wasn't a flop, but it certainly wasn't a hit. The director, Martha Coolidge, like I say, she directed an early Nick Cage and Val Kilmer in this film as well. I also saw a note that she directed an early film with James Gandolfini in the 90s, but I didn't give a shit about Sopranos, so I didn't look up that. Obviously, we got Val Kilmer, very early role. I think this is his third credit as Chris Knight, the smart prankster. Gabriel Jarrett as Mitch Taylor. He doesn't do too much. He actually still does act, but he's just one of those guys who's in stuff like Second Policeman and NYPD Blue and shit like that. But my favorite, professional douchebag, William Atherton.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. 80s asshole Atherton.
80s asshole Atherton. I'm sure he's a nice man in person. He's so good at playing dickheads.
It's his face and his, oh man, it's that face and his expression. He does it so well.
He does it so well. That expression where like his mouth is a little bit open and he's just looking at you like he looks at you and you're like, you feel like you're wasting the guy's time just how he's looking at you. He's so good at it. And I don't know if I liked him better in Ghostbusters or in Die Hard because he is such a piece of shit in both those movies. It's so perfect.
Yeah, the minute he showed up on screen, I had the biggest smile on my face. And I recognized him from the credits. Atherton? Yes.
Yeah. He's a good sport, man. Like, it's got to be tough as an actor to be, like, a lot of actors get typecast.
Well, he's definitely typecast, unless you tell me otherwise.
Well, I can't say that I've never seen him as a leading man or in any nice guy type of role. He's a giant bag of cocks in every role that he's in. He just seems to embrace it. So, good on him.
Do you know if he's still acting?
Yeah, he still works. I did check him out a little bit. I mean, I didn't really see too much that I recognized. And he's a stage actor as well, so he does some Broadway, he does some TV. He's still around. He needs to be in shit.
Oh yes. I mean, it's kind of funny with all this crave of nostalgia. One would think that this guy would be on a roll call for a lot of different movies.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, maybe he'll be in the new Ghostbusters film when that comes out. That'd be pretty dope, actually, if he was in Ghostbusters. But I want William Atherton in there as Nicholas.
Yes. Well, I want him in every movie.
I want him in every movie as well. Just another piece of trivia is I IMDb'd him. He was in Spielberg's Sugarland Express in 1974 as the leading man in that movie. I've never seen Sugarland Express.
That's his first one, right? That's the one he did before Jaws.
Yeah, that is correct. That was from 74.
Now I want to watch that movie more. Fuck. That's a sell for me, man. All right.
William Atherton leading a Steven Spielberg movie? I'm surprised at both of us that we haven't seen this.
I'm disappointed. We have failed.
Podcast is over. We failed. We failed our constituents. We should be impeached. All right, let's maybe dive in here. Any other opening thoughts before we jump into Act 1?
No, let's get into the movie.
So let's start with Act 1 here. I like the open. Turns out that this is just like a promotional video, basically shot. I don't know by whom to sell to whom, because they're all in this circle jerk in this round table talking about this amazing assassination laser beam. So I don't know who put the video on for whom, but I really like that vaguely sort of like Persian, Middle Eastern dude sitting there. Maybe Colombian, South American guy. I don't know. He's served by a butler. Like it turns around, the guy's just fucking vaporized by this laser.
Yeah, it was a fantastic opening sequence here.
Yeah,
I was laughing. I love it. To me, actually, the funny thing is, I felt that this movie was going to be tonally more in a spoofier type of way, falling into more of that genre, and it didn't. And that surprised me. But I did laugh genuinely hard at this open. He got vaporized. That was fantastic.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Yeah.
Crossbow Project.
Crossbow Project, that's right. Yeah, good name, actually.
Yeah, no, it's legit.
This is the setup. Just we've got this laser beam project. We know it's shadowy. We get the token black guy who...
Oh, I wrote it down too. Okay, I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I laughed hard. It's the one black guy in the room says, "This is unethical. I'm out of here." He was going to die even before they said he was going to die. Like, we're going to deal with him. But the funny thing is, we didn't see it on screen. I thought we were going to see that happen.
Yeah, you know what they should have had is they should have had, like, at the end of the movie, he should have been, like, the test target that they were targeting.
Oh, yeah, that would have been great.
Might have been great. I mean, it's months and months later, so it wouldn't have made sense from a narrative perspective, but that would have been funny. Yeah, he didn't even do him the dignity of killing him on screen. Oh, we're sorry to hear that. You're a good man. He leaves, and they're like, all right, I'm going to fucking kill this guy.
I wonder if that's like, is that even more racist and more undignified? Give him that scene? I'm assuming
Yeah,
so.
that's a good question. I'm not sure because, to his credit, he is the only ethical person
In that room.
In that room.
Yep.
So at least they gave that to the black guy.
Yeah, is there another black guy in the
No, there's an Asian guy.
There's an Asian guy.
Yeah, it's a pretty monotone flick for sure. But it's 1985, so diversity is in Hollywood's strong suit today, and it's been 35 years. So what are you going to do? Anyway, so we cut from there. We go to this high school science fair, and I like the opening shot there where it's rodents on alcohol, I think, right? Or drunk rodents or something like that.
Yeah.
You got the mice who aren't drunk, and then the mouse is drunk. It's
just sitting there. Sitting there on the wheel. I
And
got a chuckle out of that, too.
I got a chuckle out of it, too. Actually, in the original script, which I tracked down online, it was originally going to be rodents on marijuana. And I thought that would have been a good gag, but maybe wouldn't have played well in the 80s there. It's okay to be an alcoholic, but don't smoke that joint.
Well, I was hoping they'd still do, even though I think this came later to The Simpsons, that one science fair episode where Ralph wins because he had the unopened box of the Star Wars figures.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because Principal Skinner was just like a nerd. He's like...
It's like Obi-Wan, Chewie,
they're all here.
First prize.
Yeah, that was pretty good. We get our first introduction to aforementioned William Afton as Professor Jerry Hathaway. And we get the idea that he's a bit of a TV personality. So I don't know if he's on some public access TV show. And you can tell that he does not suffer fools gladly. And Mitch, who's our hero, or one of our heroes of the film, 15-year-old genius kid who's put together a laser. I love the fact that his mom and dad are boneheads. They're just complete idiots. And so obviously he relates to Professor Hathaway there right away. And he has a line like, compared to you, most people have the IQ of a carrot or something like that.
Yeah,
that was a good line. Super arrogant. So I think we got a good introduction here. This is pretty economical. We get a good introduction to Mitch. We know his background. We get a good introduction to Jerry Hathaway and why this 15-year-old kid gets sent to college. So, but yeah, a couple good gags with the parents being stupid and that old lady who comes up to Professor Hathaway there. She's like, what's Einstein like? He's dead.
Yeah. I was like, what? Anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's not super clear about what the TV situation is. But again, like we get an idea of this guy, him being a dick.
I do have one comment here about the kid. So obviously, I'm assuming one of his either this kid's first roles or early roles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But man, this guy looks like the genetic hybrid of Alex Ovechkin and Evgeny Malkin. Seriously.
I was going to say he kind of looks like a young Kylo Ren because his nose is like 4 feet long.
I don't know what's more flattering, to be honest.
Neither, I think, is flattering at all from a looks perspective. I mean, all three of those dudes get the ladies. There's no question about it. Well,
they get the ladies because of the money, but they have the face of a horse.
Nobody asks how. They ask how many. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He's got his charm. He's not a great-looking kid, but he's got his charm.
I thought he did an okay job in the
Yeah.
He was fine.
And he looks 15. Like, Val Kilmer is not college-age student at this point. At least I don't think so. And that's how Hollywood always goes, right? They usually get adults to play these high school kids, but he's actually high school age. So I thought that worked pretty good. So we know he's been recruited. He's going to be working on Hathaway's research team personally. Sounds like a great opportunity. And he gets to the school there, and there's that scene where he's at the freshman tea. I didn't get too much out of that one. I don't know if you want to talk about that scene. Not a whole lot of gags there.
Which scene is this?
It's when he first gets there, and he's like, I'm looking for the freshman tea.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, fuck that scene. So, but he gets to the lab, and they're testing the laser, and he meets fucking Kent.
I do want to ask you, so this guy who plays Kent, is there anything on him?
At first, I was like, is he like that dude from Die Hard that Bruce Willis murders for his, like the first guy that he kills? But
no, can't be.
Obviously, that's not him. Been in some 80s comedies. Let's see here. Fucking Kent.
Just Google that. Fucking Kent.
Robert Prescott is his name.
Sorry, with the last name Prescott, you're just asking for a...
Yeah, he voiced Sheriff Hanley in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Oh, I'm playing that right now. So
that's pretty great. Oh, you're behind the times. He was in Spaceballs as a sand cruiser driver. That's pretty great. He's been in lots of stuff. Just as nothing, though.
Well, I guess he just has one of those faces.
Yeah, absolutely. He's so good as a dickhead, too. I've said this on the show before, but I love a movie that knows how to have a good jerk as the main character. Like it's hard to do without overdoing it. And yeah, maybe they play it a little, but they overdo it a little bit. But I think that it's such a good job with this guy. This is our first introduction. He just thinks Mitch is a servant. He's like, put the coffee down or whatever, right? So that's our first meeting. So we know that Kent is one of our antagonists here, one of the guys we're up against. And then this is all sort of the introduction to college life for Mitch. And I thought it was all working pretty well. He gets to the dorm room, and there's just some weirdo who walks in, doesn't say a word, walks into the closet.
I love that. I don't want to like kind of blow it at the end. Obviously, we know this is Laszlo. We'll come to find out. But I was hoping that it would just remain ambiguous for the entire movie. We never figure anything out. Because I thought that would be just really interesting.
Yeah.
This guy just goes in the closet. You don't know anything about him. He just sits in there.
And just gone, vanishes.
Yeah.
If they were going to leave a thread untied, that would have been the one to do.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the movie, you could be like, man, we saved the world. We stopped the laser. We're cool. We're rad. We're badass. Hey, what about that motherfucker in the closet? Yeah, man, I don't know what that's about. Credits roll.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty cool.
Well, it's almost like that guy in Office Space, nerd who gets into the bunker, but he was really the cause of everything. So
yeah.
But I did enjoy that. I wrote that down. I did chuckle a couple times before they.
Yeah, I think they did a good job of setting up some jokes and then waiting for the payoff. Like most of the jokes they set up and they pay it off much down the road, and that gives a lot of credit to the viewer to be patient. Like, we know, audience member, that you're smart, that you're patient, and you're paying attention. You're going to stick around, and we're going to pay this shit off for you. And I feel like that is a rare thing in the movies these days.
That is true. This joke does pay off, so I agree with you on this one.
So now we get our introduction to the Val himself, who plays Chris Knight, the former boy genius. And he's got a line here. He's like, did you straighten up? He's like, no. He's like, good. My filth is in alphabetical order. I thought that was pretty good. So your thoughts on, just like quick thoughts, we've got our main characters already laid out. We've got the professor, we got Mitch, we got Chris, we got fucking Kent, we got Laszlo. We'll meet more of Laszlo later. But I think we have a pretty good estimation of our rogues gallery here, our cast of characters. So what are your thoughts just on how the group is shaping up?
So I agree with you. I like the introduction. I think this movie does a really good job introducing all of its main characters. To me, the standout still is William Atherton, but I won't go back there. I thought that was well done. Initially, I was waiting for him to be the asshole, and I knew he was going to be an asshole, but he didn't initially start off as the asshole. Mm-hmm. Unlike his other movies, where pretty much on his first or second sentence, what this is being Die Hard or Ghostbusters, he's clearly a dick.
Yeah. Grade
A douchebag. So it took him maybe 2-3 minutes to become that in this movie. So I was saying, oh, am I going to get something new? Nope. Back to what I love. So yeah, I would say disappointed, but I was happy.
Yeah. Like, same old, but it's awesome. He does get a little bit more, he does get more to chew on here. He's just a roadblock in Ghostbusters and in Die Hard. He's a character in this film, still a jerk, but he gets a little bit more. We get to see him flourish more as a douche, I think, in this film than we got to see in the other ones.
Oh, yeah, true. But yeah, the introduction to Mitch, I think, was great. You could see that he is a smart kid who says he doesn't fit anywhere, including his parents, which we see in that scene, and he bonds immediately with Jerry there. In a sense, because he says this is one of my kind. So he's looking forward to going to school there. And then, yeah, seeing fucking Kent, I guess was what we're going to call him.
Fucking Kent, man.
Fucking Kent. Yeah, good introduction. That was well done with the group there. He's thinking he's smug, superior. He's that's the geek culture. This is very stereotypical of what one would expect geeks to be in that time. More smug, like you mentioned Big Bang Theory. They were more kind of the scarier nerds. But I'm wondering in this time frame, in the 80s, were those nerds considered to be more smug and douchebaggery? I'm not sure. Is that how movies thought of nerds at that time? Because I still remember Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah, and I was just going to say.
Yeah, they were kind of the opposite of that. They weren't confident. They were smart, but they were confident. So this guy here is very confident. And I guess he should be. Handpicked in that special group by Jerry. But I did enjoy that scene. Again, grade A douchebag right off the bat, but then you get a sense of the hierarchy there. Who's the boss? And it's going to be a power play between him and Chris. So I did enjoy that. Now we get to Val. I did like that scene. I loved how the apartment's a mess. I mean, it's the classic stereotypical thing. I think it's true. I think all geniuses are messy. I think they have a lot of thoughts going on in their head. They can't keep things straight. And he displayed that very well on the nose here. He just felt like he was on speed, and I kind of wrote that down, or all these kids and geniuses with the pressure they're under, they're all on speed or Ritalin or whatever drug they've been taking at that time was available to them in 85.
Oh, they're on speed, 100%.
Yeah.
Don't you remember that episode of Family Ties when Michael J. Fox takes speed?
That's right. Yeah. Good call.
Yeah.
I do remember that episode very well. But yeah, so I felt he was, I wouldn't say appropriately bouncing off the walls, but I could see that. So I did enjoy the introduction here, Chris, and the rest of the...
Yeah. I will say, and we're missing a character. We'll get to her in a second. Actually, let's get to her right now, and then I'll say what I was going to say. So the smart people on ice gag, so they have that gag where they've got the ice rink in the dormitory there, and they're all skating around and shit. And it drives fucking Kent nuts, obviously, which is great. But we get introduced to Jordan, the fast-talking insomniac girl who has, I will say, a little bit of a creepy attraction to this 15-year-old kid.
It's Anakin and Padme.
Yeah, it is Anakin and Padme. Yeah, actually, that'd be weirder. He was fucking 8 or whatever.
It's like I hate ice.
Jesus Christ.
It gets everywhere.
Yeah, no kidding. Because you were asking the question, like, what's the perception of nerds in this time? And one of the things I dig about this movie is that nobody's any one thing. And like the nerds, as it were, these egghead college kids who are all super smart, they're not one thing. They're all different. They have different traits, different layers to them. Like Mitch is the stereotypical young genius. Val Kilmer as Chris, like he's got that party animal college kid in him, the prankster, but he's also like really smart. He's not a jock or anything. He doesn't bully anybody. He's actually a really inclusive guy. Jordan, I thought, was very interesting because she felt to me like somebody who actually was on the spectrum. Like she just doesn't know how to relate to people. She just talks and talks and talks. And some of the side characters, I thought, also displayed more layered characteristics. And I brought up the Big Bang Theory myself as a show that I fucking hate because it's so stereotypical. Like the nerds are just nerds. Like that show uses stereotypes to make fun of it, but to kind of glamorize it. But it glamorizes for quote unquote normal people. Like, nerds, how adorable. It's the same thing that Will and Grace did, is it used stereotypical homosexual traits as humor. And I think that's insulting. And this movie, I felt, didn't do that. They felt like they were real people. And that, I don't know, I think that makes the movie work on another level there. But I like the gag with the ice.
So you did. I wrote that down and I said, this is not working. I felt some of this introductory humor, the jokes were falling in flat. I get it, it's just a movie, and in the 80s, I can name a bunch of movies that just does gags for gags, even if they don't make sense. This being one of them. I don't know how within 5 minutes you can ice a whole hallway and stairs, and then fog all of a sudden appears. It's not dry ice. I don't know if you noticed, it started disappearing.
Yeah.
And then the fog came. I was like, this didn't make any sense. It's just a movie. It's not really supposed to make sense. You're not supposed to look at it in that kind of detail.
Right.
But I do agree about the characters. I just think some of the humor and the jokes they're trying to play, especially off Chris, it's hit and miss. That was my original reaction here with these scenes. I do agree with you, though, that characters, they all have different personalities and characteristics. Yeah, Jordan's probably on the spectrum there. Chris, as we'll come to talk about, has an arc that had previously occurred in his development. And then then you have your fucking Kent and you have those other guys in there. And they're all not stereotypical nerds. Everyone has their own personality. And Mitch is the young buck. He's only 15 and he's getting new to all this. And he's kind of semi-balanced. But he'll have a scene where he's a little unhinged because he does get bullied, which I'm sure we'll talk about. I do agree with you that everyone has a different perspective on that. And I did appreciate that. They're all just not nerds, or they're all just not stuck-up nerds, or whiny nerds, or baby nerds, or however you classify them. I do agree. Everyone's different, and I did appreciate it.
Yeah, and just a word on the gag of the ice. So this, in fact, almost all of the pranks in this movie are based on real gags that they researched that took place at the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, which is what this is based on. So the ice gag is an annual thing that they do at Caltech. So they do manage to make a very similar situation happen by freezing an inert gas and like coating the floor with it. but it doesn't like evaporate right away. Like they skate on it and then they like whitewater raft in the halls. This is what I read. And then it evaporates after that.
That's cool. And I know in the span of 5 minutes, because it's a scene of 5 minutes, you cannot show that. You're not going to take the time to have exposition and show and describe all this. But it just stood out to me saying this doesn't seem right. Something's off here.
I did like the joke when they're like, the only thing we need to do now is figure out how to not make it explode, just to scare off Kent.
No, but then the problem is, what I didn't appreciate is that if Chris is so smart, he thought it would explode. I think he said
he's
that.
just like, I think, didn't he say he was like, hey, is this stuff? Yeah, that's right. He didn't know. Yeah, he didn't know that wasn't a joke. Or he thought it was a joke, but then nobody was around. So they fuck with him too. Yeah.
Because if it's an inert gas, it's not near its upper or lower explosive limits. You're done.
That's right.
So that's chemistry 101.
It's like, that's actually, Chris, it's chemistry 101, dude. It can't explode. Fucking nerd. Yeah. So anyway, after that, maybe not the creepiest scene of the movie, but one of the creepiest scenes in the movie is the next morning, Mitch goes brush his teeth, he's taking a leak in the men's bathroom, and Jordan rolls in.
Yes.
She's got that sweater, and he's like, shit. And she's like, are you peeing? He's like, yeah. He's like, I can't go. And she's like, is it because I'm here? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And he's 15. And we learned that, not because I was wondering how old she was at this point.
Well, I'm assuming she's at least 18, 19, 20.
Well, we learn in a later scene she's 19. She says she's 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
right. Yeah.
But she can't relate to maybe people her age. So she's trying to make friends with this younger kid. I'm not buying it.
What they said in that Michael Jackson documentary.
I'm not finding an excuse here, man. I'm just trying to find it within the character that because of her intellect, she has not been able, she said she's on the spectrum, not able to relate to certain
adults, for example.
She's putting herself out there. That's all I can say. It fits within the movie.
It definitely fits within the movie, and it's super fucking creepy.
It is. And it's kind of funny how it's like we're talking about a female preying on a younger male, which is fine. But for the 80s, maybe that's very progressive.
Yeah, maybe. They're like, okay, let's flip the script. What if it was the woman who was older? Yeah, let's do it that way. I mean, at least he's freaked out about it. Well, maybe just because he's trying to take a leap.
But contextually, I don't see that they were thinking about this at all.
No.
Not at all. But it's kind of odd because the one thing that, except for the joke about Mitch being later, I found it curious that what was the reason to make him...
Good question.
It doesn't pay off anywhere else. He could have just been he could have been, say, 18 or 17 or 8, whatever, and he's that smart coming out of high school, and he's maybe skipped a year, whatever, and he is approaching adulthood and entering in as a freshman. There you go. Because they don't really pay off anything else of him being 15 years old in this film. No,
not really. And I guess... like the only thing I could offer as an explanation is just from a marketing perspective, like you want to kind of capture that demographic. That was, I think I don't know if it's less important now or more, but like the teenager demographic. Like that's why you always want a PG rating on a film, right? To get everybody in so that parents will take their kids. So that's the only explanation I could, like narratively, you're right. He could have been 18, wouldn't have made a difference.
That's right.
Right?
And what you're saying makes absolute sense. It's just considering all the other 80s movies that have been so successful, I don't buy the fact that they were trying to force a 15-year-old in here, especially when they know the script calls for him later having a relationship with a 19-year-old. So it seems a little odd.
There's another scene later, which we'll get to, that is also questionable, but we'll get to that. So we'll round out Act 1. It's just this is a follow-up to this scene here where Mitch goes to Chris and tries to tell him about it. He's like, something really weird just happened to me. And Chris has that line. It's like, is it about a dream about being dressed up as a sun god on top of a pyramid with a bunch of naked women around? He's like, no. He's like, you don't remember that line? Yeah,
no, I don't remember that line.
Before he cuts the liquid nitrogen quarters to rob the vending machine.
And I did write that down. I loved that.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah, that was pretty cool. I really like that as well. Because they didn't talk about it, he just did it, which is the thing that he did. Yeah, he was right. It was right before that. Yeah. So Act 1 closes, wouldn't be an 80s movie without a montage. And Act 1 closes out with the study montage with Mitch. So what did you think of the montage? Are you a fan of the montage in general? What's your take?
Yes. So I loved the montage. I wrote it down. I had a nice chuckle. This is pure 80s. Cheese. Love it. And the thing is about these montages, most of them don't play to music that is well known.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these shitty fucking musicians who come up with the crappiest songs that somehow represent the 80s. I don't get it. I don't know if you've seen the Rocky movies. The Rocky movies are filled with this shit. Like Breakfast Club guy, director
John Hughes, right?
I think he has some montage in his movies, and I think it's just a staple. Even no-name movies in the 80s, they all had this. This was a given in most movies that fit this type of genre. Outside of the crappy song, which I still dug because it's nostalgia, this is the same montage that showed them have the classwork and the homework. But also, I wrote down that they were making a lot of inventions.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that some of the inventions they made, with the exception of a nitrogen scene, talked to the coin, which was great, they kind of seem like a waste of time. And I'm wondering, again, if you're saying this is based off some real inventions that they had from Caltech. These people make invention to turn the page. Like, that's a lot of work to have something glued to a page and then you turn it over instead of using your finger. For example, that's one of Jordan's inventions, for example. So I think there was a couple of them in these scenes here that I was questioning, really, this is the best I can come up with and why. But I did love I think we had a couple shots of Mitch going to class, and every time he kept going, we had less and less students and more tape recorders, and then eventually the professor leaves a tape of himself.
Yeah.
And I love that. I think that's very relevant today.
Yeah.
Because as we move towards a digital age and the internet, obviously we're knee deep in it, but I think classrooms are all going to be virtual soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was they play for a gag, but yeah, that is actually very predictive of the world that we're living in now. It's a great gag because they play a few scenes, right? And it's gradual.
Yes. This was a long montage. This was not short. They played the whole song. This was 3 minutes.
Yeah, they played the whole song. It's not a great song, but I love it when a movie plays the whole fucking song. I hate it when they play a song and then they like shorten it and cut it up and stuff and like, give me the whole song. Have the balls play the whole song. But it's a great montage.
It's a great montage. So I did enjoy the montage. Great.
It's cheesy now. It's hard to do the montage now. You can't really do it. But it's effective to give you like a break and a bit of a time jump as well, because then you can move past it. You naturally get the impact of time passing, which is
and that's right. And I agree. I think that was I don't know. I still like the montage, actually.
I love the montage. I fucking love the montage.
Depending on the movie, yeah.
Give me a montage, man. If there's a montage in a movie, I'm like, yeah, fucking A, man. This is great. If you could choose a good song, especially if you could choose a good song, and I know they might have dropped the ball here, but if you can choose a good song for a montage, it's like, yeah, fuck yeah. It's like watching a really good music video, which don't exist anymore. But yeah, great choice.
But I do want to kind of circle back to what I want to get your thoughts on. What did you think about the commentary there, if any, or it's just a gag of the students not being there and then the teacher not being there, and it's just a bunch of tapes. Now, obviously, I'm sure you've skipped many a class when you were in university.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, of course. Everyone does. So is this just a commentary on student life, or is because these are geniuses we're dealing with at this university that they feel they're too smug and superior and they don't need to attend the class? Because we see some scenes later with Chris challenging Jerry that, I can pass your fucking test. Don't even really need to study for it too much or whatever. So is there a commentary here or not?
Well, I think
it's just a gag.
I don't think it's just a gag. It is a gag and it's a good one. I think that just given the context of the time period, the commentary would be the crushing stress of this type of academic life, the pressure that these young kids are under. And we actually see another example of this in the next montage. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We got another fucking montage in this movie later on. We'll come to it.
Yes.
Just the crushing weight of these expectations on these kids. Like they're kids, they're children. I mean, I didn't think I was a kid when I was 18, 19. I'm like, I'm an adult. I can drink. Fuck you. No, you are a child. And to put the kind of stress on them. So I think that's what's going on here. Like you've got Professor Hathaway being a dick. Probably, we have to guess at this a little bit, but he's probably not like a super awesome university professor that everybody looks forward to going to class with. They got to go there. And this guy's got he's smart, demanding, and it's not that he shouldn't be, but It's got to be hard, and it's shit, man. You know what it's like. It's hard to get to fucking class at 8 a.m. and stay studying, like keep your brain going all day. It's one thing to go to work all day and you kind of autopilot because you do the same shit every day. But like you go to school every day, all day long, and stay focused, stay limber, keep your mind on the material so that you can actually pick it up and learn some shit, pass the test. Like, it's hard, man. So that's the commentary I see in a scene like this is like, I can't be in a class with this douchebag. I'll take the lecture and I'll do my best because I got to either sleep or I got this other thing to go to. I got to study for this other exam. It's tough life to be a kid like that. It's really tough.
See, I'm wondering if this doesn't play more into the commentary that we're talking about, the theme that Chris later will have talking to Mitch about himself and his arc, like Mitch, and develop more to it than just being a genius. You have to be real.
Real.
You gotta be a real genius. And then Laszlo, I'm wondering if this is kind of your first glimpse into that theme coming full circle. It's not all about, really, the institution doesn't care about you anyways. They're there to chew you up, use you, chew you up, spit you out. So that's why the teacher didn't show, even though Mitch was still coming to class, but he didn't give a fuck. He left.
He didn't give a fuck. Yeah, and that's an interesting extra layer there because, yeah, you know that Hathaway doesn't care about teaching class.
Yeah, right.
Well,
that's right, but this wasn't Hathaway's class. At least I don't believe so. No. So Hathaway's class was more small. This was like more of a stadium theater classroom.
You're right. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Edit that part out.
Can't have that on the show.
Can't have that on this show. Fuck that. Let's pick that up again when we come back around to that scene that you're referencing there, because I think we can have a fuller discussion. All right. So as we roll into Act 2, just like one night, I think this is a cool scene here. One night, and Mitch is just like kind of losing his mind here. And he goes into the closet. He wants to figure out who this asshole is, just coming in his fucking dorm room and disappearing into the closet, looking for the secret passage. He does find it eventually by closing the door behind him. It opens up, goes in this little like Temple of Doom mine track and down into the steam tunnels. And the first thing I just want to remark on, and I'll get your comment on it, is what's nice about the 80s is this is all practical effects. Everything's done mechanically. Nothing's done in a computer. Everything you see on screen is effectively a working machine. So the cart coming down, elevator, they had to build all of that. It gets to the basement. So we see that Laszlo's living down there. He's printing out these cards. He's typing on his computer. And I don't know if you noticed, if you look at the screen, like Laszlo's typing away. He is plunking away this computer. And you look at his screen, it's just a screensaver.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he's clearly lost his mind, right?
He's clearly lost his mind, yeah.
He reminded me of the character from UHF, the scientist guy. Secrets of the Universe.
Secrets of the Universe. That's a callback to our first episode, everybody. Go listen. I guess they built a bunch of like gadgets and shit for that office, just as like set dressing, but we don't really get to see them. There was like a toaster that buttered the bread as well as toasting it and stuff like that. So it's too bad we didn't get to see any of that stuff. But yeah, I thought it was kind of funny with the screensaver on the. But no, that doesn't really go anywhere. So we just know that down there, just to overview maybe Act 2, there's a lot of Act 2. So the next setup there is that we know that Hathaway hates popcorn, and that'll become relevant, I promise. And that there's the strife between Chris and Jerry. Jerry wants that laser built. Chris is like, I'm going to graduate in June. Hathaway's like, no, you're not. Not unless you can build this laser for me. We also get lots of laser tests in there. And there's that one laser test. Again, we get another prank. So we get the one laser test with Chris and Mitch. And he creates that little path to that party, the pool party that he creates with the girls from the beautician college there.
Best use of what is it called? Lecture hall or lecture theater that I've ever seen.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. But fucking Kent, man. Kent rats him out.
I know. What are you going to do? You got to have an app.
I love this guy. I love this guy so much. I love Kent. I want to punch him in his fucking face. And I love him so much. It's great. I love it when they have such a perfect asshole, but not the level, like it's not a level of cruelty where you're like, oh, this guy's got to go to jail. It's just the right level of douchebaggery where he's going to get what's coming to him and it's going to be very satisfying and nobody needs to die over it.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, he's that guy. He's very insecure. So I can understand, like, he's in this position where he's worried about not being the one. He's in competition directly with Chris. So I can get it. He's a douche. He's a dick. He deserves some comeuppance, which he'll get to movie. But I mean, like, he's an asshole. The movie needs something like that for this to work, so I'm on board.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I hate him as much, but
I love him.
You hate him, but you love him. But to me, still, Atherton still steals the dick show.
Oh, he definitely steals the dick show, for sure. But it's nice that he has a protege dick.
Yeah, he's got a protege dick, yeah. A side dick.
Side dick, exactly.
It's not a sidekick, it's side dick.
Side dick, yeah, exactly.
It's like a Jerry and Kent, not Batman and Robin, right?
That's right, Jerry and Ken, the boy penis.
That's also creepy.
Oh, super creepy, yeah. Like, there's a lot of Act 2, I found. I don't want to say it's bloated, but there's a lot of kind of going back and forth. Test the laser, pull a prank, test the laser, pull a prank, test the laser, pull a prank. So it's not a long movie. It's not a bloated movie, but we don't need to get like super deep into here. But Mitch gets embarrassed because he calls his mom, right? And he's like, I want to come home. I kind of like that conversation. He calls his mom, and he's like, well, you rented out my room already? He's a 15-year-old kid. Fuck.
Yeah.
But they record his conversation. Kent records his conversation, plays it in the cafeteria for everybody to hear. And this is actually a pretty important moment because then that drives Mitch to like want to pack his bag the fuck out of here, right? And this is where we learn more about Chris and his,
that's right.
Right? Yeah, because he's like, he basically says, like, I used to be you. I was that guy that my mom dressed up in hush puppies and dress shirt and ensure that a girl would never talk to me. And his salvation came when he looked at Laszlo. He also obviously discovered the steam tunnels and saw this is what happens when you detach yourself from not reality, but from, I don't even want to say from society, but just detach yourself from being with people and like relating to people. So I don't know, maybe it's a little serious or over the top, but I think this is a heartfelt piece where he's like, you need to find balance. You can't have science without some philosophy. And the meaning being that there has to be meaning behind it. It's not just the numbers. The numbers need to mean something. And if you're not relating to people, then what does it mean? Like, does it mean anything? Mm-hmm. Right? And Chris maybe goes too far with it because he doesn't give a shit about the science. He just wants to goof off. He thinks he's better than everybody, but maybe Mitch finds the balance. So I don't know. How did you feel about this little heart-to-heart that they have here?
So I loved the heart-to-heart. I thought that was the meat of the movie. In my opinion, it was encapsulated in the scene between the two characters. And I agree with the philosophy that he has, that he discovered while being on campus and under this pressure from Jerry, or being a genius and under that pressure in a generic sense, is that there is more to life. There's more to study. It's not just science and math and physics. It is philosophy, art, and relationships and humanity. Otherwise, you will get lost. Laszlo is the example that he found, as you talked about. So I enjoyed these scenes. Life is a balance, and that's a great message. So this scene works 100%. I think even Kilmer here does a good job. To me, this is his best scene in the movie. It's a heartfelt scene, to mention. It's good. However, the rest of this, like, you're talking about more montage of, and I don't even think it's a montage. We are getting scenes without a montage song of them literally testing the laser, prank, testing the laser, prank, testing the laser, prank, and a couple of scenes of the CIA agent talking to Jerry and pressuring him at his house. And it's repeated a few times. And I thought Act 2 here, if this is what we're talking about, Act 2 dragged. Because some of the pranks didn't work. We're getting some more inventions, I think, from the nerds around the campus as well. And like that, say that prank, you got the car in the room, really? Yeah. I mean, that's not possible without tearing the entire foundation of the school down. So, not the entire foundation, but all the walls. You know what I'm getting at. So it's a joke that doesn't make, there's not a logical sense there. We're supposed to just kind of buy it because they're geniuses and they manage it somehow. But some of the jokes don't fall well here. And I had a problem in Act 2, except for this scene.
Yeah, this is definitely the highlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
The car gag, that is based on a real gag. As I mentioned before, they based everything on a real gag. They take the car apart. Yeah,
so I was going to say, that's the only way is they take the car apart. Yeah. But I can understand that if you're talking about you have days to do something like that.
Yeah, overnight.
Same thing with the ice. You need time yearly at a tradition. Yeah, maybe over the course of a week, you're laying out that inert gas. It freezes. Great. After another week or two, it's gone. Great. In a span of a couple of minutes? No. But no. It's a movie, so you can't show that. So that's where you either have to buy it as movie magic or you question it. Because as an engineer, I kind of go, really?
You're right. It hinges on the audience's belief that, well, okay, they're really smart. They figured it out. That's all it hinges on. And so you're right. If you have a background in that, then it's harder to swallow. Like, you're right. Like, it's possible they could do it, but overnight, probably not.
Overnight with 2 people.
With 2 people, no.
No.
You need a fucking crew of people.
Yeah, you need a crew. You need one of those crews that's going to steal. They won't be putting the vehicle back together in the room. They'd be taking it.
Yeah.
GTA, man. It's like...
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. They're breaking that down and they're shipping it to China is what they're doing with that fucking car.
Yeah, at gunpoint.
What a douchey car, too. Actually, I love the choice of the car they have there. It's stupid yellow.
I don't know if that was intentional, but good call. Yellow color car? Yeah.
Like, it's in the script. Like, the actual car, like, they wrote that into the script. So it was intentional. I don't know what it's supposed to mean, but it fits so perfectly with that character. So, and again, just with the repetitiveness, like Chris goes to Hathaway's house like 2 or 3 times in Act 2 to get chewed out by him and be like, build the laser, stop having an attitude problem, deliver me the fucking results. And they're just kind of filling time.
Yeah, that's right. And we had a couple of odd scenes of Chris hitting on the CIA agent's daughter at Harry's house.
Once.
Right.
And then goes
Jerry,
back the next time.
Yeah. And then it lingers on. They give this actress who has no bearing in this movie whatsoever, no importance, because these scenes go nowhere. But they give her about 2 minutes of solid screen time.
Yeah, they do linger on her. And I mean, she's a pretty lady, but...
I found that really odd. And there's some scenes in this movie where I think we're going to touch upon this eventually, is the Mitch and Jordan romance. They linger on some of that stuff. It just doesn't pay off well.
Oh, I totally
Very
agree.
Forced.
Yeah. And I think we'll get to that. I do want to say, since we were talking about Chris and the CIA agent's daughter there, when he first meets her, and he's ogling her, and he's like, he asked the guys, like, have you ever seen a body like this? And he's like, what's my daughter? He's like, I guess you have. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ.
That's balls. But as a genius who's that confident, I can accept him at that point, especially after the life lesson he told Mitch. Mm-hmm. I can accept that.
No, I can accept it. You're right. He's so confident, and he wants to cut that guy down at that point. He wants to be a dick to that guy. So that's a perfect line to do that. But, whew, damn.
All he knows is that Jerry needs me. I'm in his house. I can insult whoever the fuck I want in his house.
Yeah, well, that's probably true.
Because I am the shit.
Yeah.
That's where he's coming.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, he's cocky at this point. Not confident, but cocky.
Yeah,
and he's doing shit he shouldn't be doing. And he's lucky he didn't get shot.
Oh, yeah, he's lucky. I'm surprised that agent didn't treat him like the black fella.
Yeah.
It's like...
yeah.
It's like...
He wakes up in his dorm room the next day with a bullet in his gut. Like, that's what would have happened.
And the audience doesn't even know because they don't give even the dignity, just like the black guy.
Exactly, that's right.
What happened to the black guy?
Just continues on with Mitch building the laser. That's it. Yeah. What happened to Chris? Who?
He doesn't exist anymore.
It's been erased from existence. But the gist of all of that is that Jerry is going to flunk Chris out of school because he's a douche and he's not building his laser and he's distracting Mitch from his work. So Chris needs to get his act together, which they help him to do, and this is a little bit ambiguous. We get Laszlo. This is the first time we kind of talked to Laszlo. Laszlo's like, I think you guys could use my help. I've got all of the answers to every question that Hathaway's ever asked in a final exam. I've got all the answers to that. So presumably he's going to help them cheat on the final exam so that he doesn't flunk out of school.
Right.
And then the weird side story of him entering these sweepstakes with no purchase necessary, enter as many times as you want. So he's been printing out all these entries. This is also based on a real thing that happened at Caltech, is entries into this contest. So again, planting a seed for a joke that's going to pay off later. It's kind of bizarre, but it also links up with another joke that had been planted earlier that we actually didn't mention, but we'll come to in a little bit. So they're weaving together a couple of jokes for no other reason than to weave together a couple jokes. I'm not sure if I liked it or not because it's kind of superfluous. But what do you think of this gag so far? The contest entries.
So refresh my memory again. Contest. So Laszlo is doing some contest entries to win money. He's kind of manipulating it to win money. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one. But he's not really manipulating it. It's like the McDonald's Monopoly contest where there's a bunch of different prizes. You know what I mean? Like you can enter the sweepstakes and you might win a car or you might win 10 cheeseburgers. You might win the dream house. You might win a milkshake, like all that kind of stuff.
So my one problem with this scene is if this guy's so smart, why couldn't he just... It seemed at the end of the movie, the payoff was very little. I kind of took a glimpse at the back of his trailer there. He had an RV.
Yeah.
And it looked like he had like a TV, and some electronics and some other things in this kind of like tractor trailer that he hitched to the back of the RV.
Yeah.
And he was moving somewhere else. Why couldn't he do something where he'd be winning something a lot bigger?
Well, because it was purely chance. All you had to do was enter a bunch of times.
Okay.
He knew how many ballots he could enter because it was just a random draw. And by being able to guesstimate how many total ballots would be entered in, he knew that if he entered in a certain number of ballots, he'd be able to win 32.6% of the prizes, because he as an individual would have entered in, I guess, 32% of the total ballots for the contest.
I get that. I'm just saying his goals were not lofty.
Well, no, but I mean, like how many times, like you could be like, oh, I want to win the $100 million Powerball, but you wouldn't be able to because you're not going to get a share of the prize. Like the thing with these sweepstakes is that the prizes get paid out no matter what. Like somebody's going to win. He's just figured out how to win. I mean, if you enter once, maybe you win the car, maybe you win $100,000, maybe you win the 10 cheeseburgers. But if you can win a share of the prizes by putting in the right share of the ballots will get you the right share.
I get
so the bigger games, the odds are still too low. Even if you had 1.6 million ballots in the Lotto Max, you're still not going to win.
I just feel like this guy's skill set. Like this guy says, I memorized all the questions.
Yeah.
To the test. Why can't he count cards and go win big at blackjack or poker?
Well, maybe he could, but I think that's kind of the point of the characters because
I hear you.
He hasn't figured it out, right?
I hear you. I just kind of wish there was something a bit more smart of what he did to get himself this stuff. And then there's also the ethical question that these guys are so smart, yet at the end, all he did, this guy is like a brilliant man who just crashed and washed out.
Yeah.
However, the best he can come up with is cheating in a sweepstakes game.
No, but he
himself
didn't. 32%. He didn't cheat. He says it himself. He's like, they made the rules.
I hear you. Technically, it's still, one can question it's unethical, especially when the third act is all about ethics. So I found this to be a clash here.
Well, I guess if you want to say the ethics of like winning, like which is admittedly a bullshit sweepstakes game where the guy won a car and probably free milkshakes for life.
Still, we're talking about ethics, and the guy still cheats. So.
He played by the rules.
But still unethical.
I mean,
hold on.
He didn't break into the simulator and reprogram the Starship simulator, and
that was
cheating.
No, okay. It was cheating in 2009's Trek. In real Trek, it was not cheating.
No, he did the same thing. He went in and changed the rules.
No. So
he cheated. They even said you cheated.
No, okay, we're gonna hash it out now.
He blew him off.
No, in JJ Trek.
No, I'm not talking about JJ's. Star Trek 2.
So what he did was he programmed it so there was a possibility to win. Not I sit back and chew an apple while the program allows me to win in 5 seconds.
Forget about the visualization that JJ used shorthand for. If we go back to Wrath of Khan, he broke in and reprogrammed the simulator.
So it allowed of a captain to.
But he did reprogram the simulator.
So it's still cheating. I agree with you. It's still cheating.
Okay.
But
it's still cheating. That's all. It's still cheating.
My interpretation, and I believe from some novels that I read, whether you count them as canon or not, this was when I was young. Whatever. Anyways, the point being is. Yes, he did reprogram it. You classify it as cheating. It is unethical, even what Kirk did, technically. All he did is he allowed the possibility to win, but that was a character-defining moment because he does not accept a no-win possibility, which is fucking awesome.
I'm not saying we are in agreement. You're like Rudy Giuliani right now.
Don't compare me to that motherfucker.
He didn't do any of that. Fuck. He just cheated. That's all he did.
Oh man. We went down a dark hole. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Reading an article today, I never heard this before. When he was mayor of New York, he allowed a guy to walk away from shooting an unarmed man 41 times in Brown.
Wow.
Yeah, this was after 9/11. So the police actually shot an unarmed man 41 times.
Wow, that's a lot of bullets.
Yeah, they say he had a gun. He didn't have a gun. And they got off scot-free, and those police officers are still working this day.
I wish I could say I was surprised to hear that, but I'm not.
No.
Oh, man. Isn't it nice to be able to have to fret and worry over shit that doesn't matter, like a movie that came out in 1985, and whether a character in there cheated on a fucking fake sweepstakes? That's the world I want back, man.
Yeah.
Can't we all just get back to worrying about shit that doesn't matter? Fuck.
Yeah, I think that's why we do this thing.
That is why we do this thing. So, getting back to worrying about
back,
shit that doesn't matter. Boy. Okay. We're talking about Laszlo.
Yes, Laszlo and his cheating.
The gist is that he's suggesting that he's going to help Chris cheat on the final exam so that he doesn't flunk out of school.
Okay, but let's linger on this for just 2 seconds more. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Now, Chris, I know we see a montage, your second montage that you're assuming you want to bring up, which is still awesome. Yeah. But, so I know Chris does start attending class.
Yes.
However, we don't see him actually cheat. However, it's implied that he does take Laszlo's information and does cheat. Yet he tells Jerry, I can pass your fucking exam, no problem, because I'm a fucking genius. Which he is. So which is it? Did he cheat? Did he not cheat? What's going on here? It's implied that he did cheat.
I'm not sure because, so I didn't watch the entire movie twice, but I watched certain bits of it a couple times. So this scene here, like Laszlo comes up and he's got cards in the boxes. You don't know what they are, right? And he says he's got all the answers. And they're like, are those them? He's like, no, these are, and he talks about the contest. Like, where are the answers? And Laszlo's like, I memorized them. And they both kind of look at each other and they're like, of course you did. Great. And so part of the body language there tells me that they're just like, well, this doesn't do me any good that Laszlo memorized them. And then he does start going to class. So I guess if we were to say that Chris cheats on the exam, which is totally possible because his morality is not held up to a high standard, but then that would suggest that he had to sit with Laszlo and then commit the answers to memory by listening to Laszlo recite them to him. And we don't see any transmission of the information from Laszlo to Chris. So I'm wondering if he did actually cheat or if he was, because we know he's a smart guy. He could go to class and he could learn the answers easily enough just by going to class. So I wonder if he actually did take advantage.
I don't know, and I think that's a unfortunate exclusion from the movie.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a good line to say, thank you, Laszlo, or whatever, or say, I'm just going to attend the class. And that's a nice lesson for Mr. Mitch there as the protege. Missed opportunity. I think they should have done that.
I agree. Yeah, they dropped that. Yeah. So before we get to the montage, let's get to this next scene. So after Laszlo presents them with the option of all the answers and offering his pajamas to Mitch, Mitch goes back to his room, which the door is closed, lights are up. He walks in, turns on the light, and there's this lady sitting there. And I had to actually go back and figure out who the woman was.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so she's from the earlier part in the movie when Chris is touring that laboratory, presumably where he's going to get a job after he graduates.
That's right.
And there's a woman there that Chris is flirting with, and she says she's, quote unquote, known 7 of the 10 greatest minds, smartest minds in the world, implying that she fucked 7 of the 10 smartest people ever. And she's going to knock another one of these off her list with Chris, which presumably she does. So she's hot for the brains.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. Hey, if that's what pumps your tires, awesome.
No problems there, but then
no problems.
This is
so she's waiting.
This is a late 30s, early 40s, or mid 30s to
I think she was in her, I was going to say like late 20s to mid 30s.
Okay, so let's just say she's in her 30s.
She's a full-grown, developed adult. She's not 19.
Nope.
She's a career woman.
And now she's after a 15-year-old boy.
She's in a dark, private room. And she says to him, I've been waiting 3 years for this. So has she been stalking this kid for 3 years?
Did she say that? She's been waiting 3 years?
I've been waiting 3 years for this. And he's like, for what? And she says, for you to be old enough for this.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was paying attention to something else, but so I wasn't paying attention to the dialogue here.
Well, that's why I had to watch it a few times.
To be frank.
Yeah, to be frank, I was not paying attention to everything. And to be clear, I'm under the impression he's still 15. He hasn't turned 16 yet, right?
No, this has not been a year. This has been months.
Right. So she's been waiting 3 years for him to turn, not 16. So she's waiting 3 years for him to turn.
Yeah, she's had her eyes on him since he was 12.
He was 12.
Yikes.
That is an odd addition to a mainstream motion picture.
That's an antiquity right there.
That's an antiquity right there. It's like walking into an antique shop and seeing one of those creepy ventriloquist dolls. You're like, oh man, I can't believe they used to make these things. Ooh, creepy. And then you get a little shiver goes down your spine, and then you buy like a nice teacup set and walk the fuck out of there because that's going to haunt your dreams afterwards. Oh. And like she starts making out. She doesn't just say anything. Like she jumps his shit.
Yeah, these next two scenes are like this scene coupled with the next scene between Mitch and Jordan. Yeah, I'm not feeling it here.
Well, it's because so it cuts from there. They're kissing, and then it cuts from there to Jordan's dorm, and she's power sanding the floor in the middle of the fucking night because she's a weirdo.
Yeah, and again, 80s movie, you're not supposed to question it. They're just oddballs. So it's the oddballs.
Well, no, I was fine with her sanding the floor. Because she's already said she doesn't sleep and does weird shit all the time. So she's
I don't mind that she's awake. I mind that she's sanding the floors in her dormitory in the middle of the night.
Yeah, presumably you don't have that kind of latitude.
You don't. Plus, you will be kicked out of the dormitory pretty quick there.
Probably true. Yeah.
But again, it's for gags. It's a movie.
It's a gag.
So what can we do for something for her to be oddball and weird at 3 a.m.?
Well, because it wouldn't be, because she knitted him a sweater already. If she was just sitting there knitting, that's not a good gag. That's boring.
Yeah, and then we also
power
have
sanding is
that's right.
More fun.
And we also had the odd scuba dive thing earlier.
Yes.
In the lecture hall where they can't even really fully submerge themselves. It's very
Yeah,
odd.
exactly.
I don't really understand.
It's like a
I really
wading
didn't
pool.
understand this. Yes, this is not a pool. This is not the ocean. It's not a lake. It's not a pond. It's a puddle.
Exactly. Yeah. Like it probably comes up to 2/3 to the calf. Yeah. But they're in there and he shows up. Mitch shows up in her room and he's like, this woman was there and she wanted to like get busy, but I didn't want to, but I wanted to. He basically says, I didn't want to with her. I wanted to with you. And then it kind of cuts away and it's unclear if they get down or not.
It is unclear. I didn't get the feeling that it led to anything other than a kiss. I didn't get that.
There was some heavy petting, at least. There's gotta be, right? And he's just like, I didn't have sex with this woman. I'm hot and bothered. I'm coming here. She's digging it. For sure they kissed, but like, come on.
I don't know. I didn't get that sense. But the thing is that's why I still question this whole, why did they cast and why is this about a 15-year-old kid coming to college? Because they don't really play that out anywhere. He's technically 18-year-old kid here, or just turned adult, and it's the same thing, and then it's acceptable. Yes. You're not getting the heebie-jeebies here, so.
Right. And as you brought up before, they weren't thinking about that. Like, it wasn't creepy for them when they made the movie. It wouldn't have been creepy for the audience at that time. So, like, I'm not trying to, like, stake this movie in the heart with a wooden stake of political correctness or anything. But it is interesting to see snapshots through time, a movie from 35 years ago, what you wouldn't even have thought about.
I'm sure shit like this, there are relationships out there that happen, unfortunately, like this. In today's world, it's just, you don't see it on screen as flamboyantly
it's not normalized. It's not normalized.
No, it's not normalized, whatever.
Yeah, because there's lots of examples. I mean, you remember that episode of Seinfeld where George is pretending to be the millionaire architect so Jerry can win that race? And I think it was that episode. He talks about losing his virginity to the home economics teacher in junior high school when he would have been 13, 14, 15. And he's bragging about it, and everybody thinks it's totally normal. Like,
that's right.
I didn't even think about it.
I don't know. Because it's not a focus of the movie. It's just forced romance, and I don't know.
Well, the whole storyline, the whole romance storyline probably didn't need to be there. Didn't belong. Although I like Jordan, like that's a good character. Yes. I like that she's in the movie. The love story aspect is unnecessary.
Well, that's right. This is like Finn and a Rose.
Right.
Essentially. Yeah. Didn't work, but...
Well, I don't know that it didn't work in the sense that they felt like I felt they had sort of this awkward geeky chemistry. So if the age difference hadn't been there, I thought that it worked well enough, even though it's not integral to the storyline. It's hard to make a movie in the 80s without having a love story, though. Like, so I can kind of understand that. It's an interesting talking point for us now to like get under the layers of this creepy age difference, and we can make some jokes about it, which I'm sure people appreciate. I don't know. Anyway, let's move past it. We still got some Act 2 to get through here. So what happens now is Kent, man. What's this guy's fucking problem, dude? Fuck.
I love how he has graded you so. Usually you're a fan of the asshole.
Fucking Kent, man. I love him, but he's such a fucking asshole. Like, why is he such a dick? He messes with the laser. He smears the lens, right? And he's doing this trick before the big exam. And this is when Chris takes the exam, crushes it. I like his little apple gag, puts the apple on his desk, but as he puts it on his desk, he has that like douchey Val Kilmer look on his face, putting the apple on his desk.
I love the note too. I aced this fucking...
Yeah, I aced it. Yeah, it slides in the note, aced this. And then he throws the apple in the trash can and just fucking blows up. I mean, it's a nothing gag, but I don't know, it made me laugh. I thought it was great. Anyway, so Chris goes and tests the laser, but fucking Kent smudged the lens, so it blows up. And that gives Chris the stereotypical, like the cliche brainwave. Like, I figured it out. So he fixes the laser. He gets everybody into the lab, and they basically melt down fucking campus because they tech the tech. And I'm sure they killed at least 8 students and probably some squirrels and a couple birds when they do the successful laser test.
Yeah, and this is a scene where, as cool as it was to see that poor 80s effect beam come out, even though the refraction and flexion outside the campus, I wrote this down, the beam and the holes that we saw across town go higher and higher and higher because it comes out of their lab. It's all horizontal. This is a horizontal beam. It's going to burn through things, right?
It must have just been at a slight angle on the table.
So, okay, I understand.
All right.
So we're talking about that angle is not going up near 90 degrees or at least 75 degrees because when they get to downtown, it's burnt a bulletin board on top of a building.
Yeah.
Whereas outside the campus, it was still pretty even with the lab because they burnt through the statue.
Well, I mean, my trigonometry is rusty, man, but I figure if they had at least like an 8.5 degree angle between the table and the laser beam, by the time it made it, say, like the 9.6 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And the curve, taking into account the curvature of the Earth, I figure like it would have hit that billboard actually maybe 4 centimeters lower than it should have. But I'll chalk that up to just...
You can just say that Jesse Pinkman with magnets, bitch. There you go. Not supposed to think about it. Magnets, bitch.
Magnets, bitch. Lasers, bitch. So, the laser works. Shit, did we miss our second...
Yeah, you missed the second montage. 80s montage with Kilmer. I wrote down. Kilmer got a study.
Kilmer got a study. What was your favorite part of the second montage?
Oh, okay. I remember Kilmer going to class. I remember Atherton staring at his slippers, rabbit slippers.
Yep.
I remember Mitch and him studying in the room. That's all I can really recall.
So my favorite part, they're in the library, and that one kid stands up and just starts freaking out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
screaming his brains out and just runs out of the room because of the stress.
That was stress from studying, and the pressure.
Well, I assume so. What else was it been?
I have no fucking idea. These kids were on drugs, and so
I
don't know what he was hallucinating.
So that goes back to what we were talking about before, where you were asking what the message was of the classroom, right, where the tape recorders became an increasing feature. And I was saying, like, I think it's the stress, the situation. So I think this is kind of like the realization of that. Like, you see this kid just break. His fucking mind breaks in half. And he just stands up, starts screaming.
I've had that moment at work.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what that means. I don't get it.
Well, I've had that moment where I've just had to leave the office.
Oh, my God. I've had that moment, too, where I had to leave. I had that moment in university, too. I'm just like, I'm leaving now. I'm going to leave now. I'm not leaving. Bye. I'm leaving.
And I remember you took this fucking class about astrophysics as well. I'm surprised you even signed up for that.
Me too. I'm clearly not smart enough. I did that and computer science, and I sucked. Like, you gotta code. I'm all right with computers, and I always was. And then you get into computer science 101 where you gotta learn C++. Not for me.
I had to do that. I did okay in the first one. I just had to take worse. But
yeah.
Didn't enjoy it.
No, because I think every science degree, at least here, you had to take that course, just the first one.
That's right.
And man, I don't know how many people. It probably broke a lot of kids who might have been good otherwise. Because how many times have you used C++ lately?
No. I don't even know what they use now.
Yeah, no.
Java? I don't know. I don't even know what the fuck.
They use a lot of Java. I think they use a lot of Java, but I don't even know. What do I know? I don't work in any of that shit, so fuck it.
Yeah, you gotta get Nathan on the show.
Yeah, he does program. He doesn't use C++. I think he uses Java.
Well,
we can ask him. We'll ask him on the next episode. I think he'll be on the next episode. I think so. So we skip past the second montage. I mean, the first montage was better, but it was a good montage. Anyway, so the laser works. And they go for burgers and beers at the place that they blasted a hole through the billboard of, having a good time. And Laszlo comes along and he asks the question, what's the application of a laser beam that only fires for 40 seconds at high power? And they're like, who cares? It's for the engineers to figure out. And he's like, well, if you had, with the targeting system, with a big enough mirror, you could target anything from orbit. And then they realize that this has military applications. Mm-hmm. You don't really know that they don't know what they've been working on. It doesn't really connect. At least it didn't for me, that they didn't know what it was that they were working on, that it was a real serious piece of shit. At least I thought that Chris knew because he was at Hathaway's house. He saw him meeting with these guys in suits and shit. But this is like, they had no idea. Did you buy that?
No.
No.
Not at all. I was shocked.
So smart.
Yeah. No, because, I mean, even before they hit the 5 megawatts, I mean, that's a lot of power. When he's demanding 5 megawatts, which was earlier in the film, and he achieved 6, I mean, that's a lot of energy.
Mhm.
So, and through his personality, one would think that, yeah, whether you're dealing with Jerry or not, you'd think that what's the purpose of this application? Is this for sustainable energy? Is this for what? Like, why are we in this? That question never came up even before he achieved it. So when he finally achieved it, even though he was kind of being bribed, you're not going to pass unless you do it. So I get that in the sense that was his thrust to get it done, but I didn't buy the fact that thought process never crossed his mind. So I found that surprising.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, part of me can kind of believe that, you know, you could have so much focus on a task, like being these guys, like we've said before, like you've got the messy dorm room because you're not focused on that. But I also have to believe that you're like, okay, you can neglect like folding your laundry, but when you're a smart guy or girl, you can never stop asking why. Like you can't. And I know you're asking your questions like, how do you make this work? Why isn't this working? But once it starts to work, because they made reasonable applications of this laser that maybe not to the power level effectiveness, but that did work. Like, what are we doing and why are we doing it? Seemed like that's a question they should have asked before. And I mean, they didn't for plot purposes. I think that could have been dealt with in a better way earlier. Like, why are we doing this? Oh, like there should have been some other explanation as to why they were made.
Like Jerry could have just told them some shit story earlier on in the film, and then Laszlo, being the hidden mole that he is in the steam room, he could have figured it out. just like UHF.
Just like UHF, exactly.
So, there you go.
Exactly. Dare to be stupid, baby. So, all right. So, Act 3. Act 3 is quick. Once they realize that this is what's happening, they roll back to the lab, and all the equipment's gone. Laser's gone. The fucking targeting system, that big mirror that fucking Kent has been working on. Because all Kent's good for is fucking mirror. Like, I got a mirror in my bathroom, Kent. Fucking dick. They're like, okay, we got to figure out what's going on. And what was really sad, I actually really love this scene. You can tell me what you think. So they basically physically assault Kent by pumping gas into his room, knocking him out cold, and then installing a mic and a speaker into his braces, which serve as a transmitter so that they can beam messages directly into Kent's brain. So what do you think of that gag?
I enjoyed it. I laughed, at least the first part of this, where it's obviously, again, this is movie magic, essentially. It would never play out this way. If you hear a vibration or something coming through your mouth, I'm sure you're going to be investigating as being the smart man that Kent's supposed to be. But just played for gags. I did chuckle. I let it go. Especially the first part. As it moved on, I got tired of it and how stupid he was. Just for the gag, but...
Yeah, because he is very stupid.
Yeah.
I love the gag. I thought it was very funny. This moment reminded me, I don't know if you watched The Office, the TV show, but he's Dwight from The Office, and they're fucking with him. They're using his delusions of grandeur against him. I thought it was great. I don't know if this was possible in 1985, but so Bose, they make speakers, and good speakers. They make like a pair of sunglasses that just look like sunglasses, but they're speakers, and they just like vibrate into your ear canal so that you can hear music. But it doesn't actually, they're not microphones or headphones. They don't go into your ear. They're just there. And they vibrate.
Are you talking about now or in the 80s?
No, now. You can do that now. So that's why I think it might have been possible. Maybe it's possible for them to, he should have felt some vibration in his teeth. But even still, you still hear a voice from inside your head.
Well, you're supposed to let this go. So you're not supposed to question the tech. It's like Star Trek. You tech the tech, and it's done.
And Kent's a dick, right? So he thinks he's hot shit. So Jesus talking to, I love that. This is Jesus. Stop touching yourself.
Yeah, that ongoing joke, while funny, it got played.
It did a couple times, I guess. But the reason why I think it worked is because he was so sensitive to it. Like, it got under his skin, and it's such a nothing thing that, I don't know, I thought it was pretty funny. I thought they did a good job, and I thought Mitch did a good job of playing Jesus.
The other interesting thing here, which I kind of had a conflict on, because if these guys are all of them, including Kent, are uber nerds. So I'm surprised that they played the just angle here, and that he believed so fundamentally this is happening to him.
Well, sure. That's one way you could go. I think the reason why they did it is because of the earlier line when Mitch first walks into the lab way, way back. and Kent says, like, I'm top dog here. It goes from God to Jerry to me.
Good point.
I think they were playing on that. He'd only said that once or twice. So that's why one of the reasons why I like this movie is, like, they plant those seeds early and they pay them off later, and they expect you to be smart enough to pick it up. And if you're not, that's your fucking problem. That's a tough balance to strike, though, because if you can't connect those dots, then it doesn't matter, right? If it's too far. And I think this was one of the jokes that it took me a couple times to remember, oh, yeah, they said that earlier. So, okay, that's the payoff for that. So, because you're right. But, I mean, plenty of signs. I mean, Einstein believed in God, so.
That guy was fucked, man. He had issues.
Well, yeah, he did. Isaac Newton had issues. Einstein had issues. Like, Niels Bohr had issues, man. Like, smart people have fucking issues. Stephen Hawking didn't have issues other than the fact his body hated him, but his, he wasn't fucked other than the obvious physical limitations fucked up, but
I just love how you worded it. That's all. His body.
It's not funny, but
oh, it is funny.
Kind of funny. I mean, respect. He was one of my idols when I was a younger guy. I'll make fun of him now because I'm sure he'd be all right. He'd be all right with it.
No, he's cool with that shit, man.
He had a good sense of humor.
Yeah,
for
he
sure.
did.
He definitely did. Jesus. All right. So they fuck with Kent because they want to figure out where the laser is. And they figure Kent's going to know. Kent doesn't know where. He gives them a date when it's going to be tested. And then they do a little surveillance on Hathaway. They know where it's going to be at this army base. And this is actually my biggest problem with the movie. And it's funny, but it's dumb, as they couple fake IDs and they put a fake mustache on Mitch there. He looks like somebody cosplaying as Freddie Mercury. And
yeah, my problem here with this third act is the fact that these geniuses showing in other montages that they're coming up with these clever inventions and they're wasting screen time on that stuff. Whereas they just, in the main part of the movie where they're infiltrating an Air Force base, all they have are fake IDs, and the pictures are not even them of being normal people. They're like gag pictures where they're like posing funny faces and stuff like that. And we're supposed to buy this? This is all they did?
Yeah.
I would expect something more clever, and I think that was where I was disappointed. That's all it took to get him in. And then, icing on the cake is the fucking guard. After letting him pass, as the car is driving away, 5 feet in front of him, he gets the message from his counterpart saying, we're watching out for something unusual. Please report it.
Yeah.
And
like, they're trying to make a joke, but it's like, you're right. Like, we spent this other screen time on stuff that didn't matter. Yeah, they're geniuses. Spoiler alert, the title of the movie is Real Genius.
Right.
And they get into a fucking Air Force base that's conducting a top secret experiment with a fucking death ray. And it should have been clever. They should have done something clever, not something stupid. They were trying to make a joke, but they should have done something clever. That could also have been fun.
Yeah, and I think that's a completely missed opportunity.
Totally.
I'm reading this screenplay, or I'm the director, I'm the writer, I'm saying something else needs to be here. This almost feels the screenplay and the script was written as they were filming, and they're running on a budget, and this is all they could do within, like, a couple of hours.
Yeah. They're just like, hey, we need to get through this. Let's just go.
Yeah.
That's like the J. Abrams School of Filmmaking is like, how are we going to solve this problem? Don't worry about it. Just film. Just go.
Just go,
like,
yeah.
all right, we'll fix it in post.
Yeah. I really wanted some awesome MacGyver-esque, clever way to get in.
Yeah.
And, as you said, validate the title, Real Geniuses.
Yeah, they needed some Ocean's 11 shit here.
Well, I don't know if we'd have to go that far. That's a whole other movie, but... Point being something more interesting than shitty fake IDs, which are absolute fake. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like they would have been shot on the spot. Yeah. If this was the real world, Mitch and Chris are on Guantanamo Bay right now.
No, they'll be sent up between the space between spaces, a la
space.
Skull.
Yeah, there's space between spaces. Exactly. That's a worse fate.
Yeah.
So you are sentenced. It's like that scene in Superman 2 where they're like banished into the Phantom Zone, except you are banished to a terrible Indiana Jones movie for the rest of eternity. And it's like Indiana Jones' like hat coming out of the sky, like that triangle, only it's Indy's hat, and captures them and keeps them in the space between spaces. I don't know. I was doing a thing. It's fine.
Segue. I think that the best way to have ended the Crystal Skull would have been as a post-credit scene. I think I mentioned this to you before, whether on this show or privately, is that he comes out at the end of Crystal Skull, but it's that mountain in Close Encounters, and you just see that whole set, and he walks out. This is in the future now, in the 70s, and you see the silhouette of him coming out of that ship.
Oh, with Richard Dreyfuss would be standing there.
Well, you wouldn't have to necessarily show Richard Dreyfuss, but yes, that would take place in the same set. And I think that would have been a cool way of advancing Indiana Jones into the future, but unfortunately had to get married to fucking Marion.
Yeah, fuck Marion. What's her problem?
Well, I mean,
also speaking of
Indy don't get
statutory rape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the Crystal Skull was a rape. The whole thing.
Well, yeah, that was a rape. That was statutory rape of you and me.
Yeah.
But Indy and Marion.
Well,
yeah,
I don't mind Indy and Marion. It's just the whole concept is
because we talked about appropriate age actions with.
Oh yes,
yeah.
I hear what you're saying. Okay, we're going all the way back. Yes, well, beyond questionable.
Don't watch Raiders of the Lost Ark and do the math on the characters' ages, because if you do, Indiana Jones is going to jail.
I was a child. I was in love.
Yeah. She even says it. I was a child. Like, oh, fuck. Like, why?
Man.
And then Indiana Jones could have teamed up with Richard Dreyfuss for Indy 5.
Yes.
So that's a debut thought right here. So,
well, there's a great idea. Spielberg.
Copyright, trademark, podcast of rare antiquities.
That's Indy 5 right there.
Indy 5 right there. Too bad Richard Dreyfuss is retired, but it's fine.
Well, they're still going to make Indy 5, which is awesome.
Yeah, well, until the cameras start rolling. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. But what are we talking about again?
Real Genius.
Real Genius, all right. They break into the fucking Air Force base somehow, right? They get to the laser. They rewire it. They hook it up to a modem, I guess, right? And so they connect it back to Laszlo's lair, where he can, like, punch in the coordinates and stuff, which is great. And all of that works. A little bit of tension, not a lot. It's fine. Chris and Mitch make it out of there. And the next day, so overnight, so I guess, do we have to take for granted that Hathaway sleeps over on the Air Force base? Is that right? Because he doesn't go home, right? Because they're delivering boxes into his house. Like, why doesn't he go home?
I don't think we're supposed to pay attention to that detail.
Okay, fair enough. So the next morning, outside of this, we see them deliver a bunch of shit into his house. We don't know what. And they tell Kent he needs to be at the house at a certain time, but don't go inside. So Mitch is there, Chris is there, Jordan's there. Somebody brings a congressman. Who brought the congressman?
I don't know, but I just assume that they reached out to him saying, "Hey, there's some weird shit that Jerry's got going here, and you want to get him fired." And
I might have brought a senator instead of a congressman. That's just me personally, but whatever, it's fine. So the test goes on, and they shoot. So they shoot the laser beam, gets diverted into his house, and then we see is basically a giant Jiffy Pop in Jerry's house there, and blows up with popcorn. Kent goes inside, even though Jesus told him not to, but he's an idiot. So he goes inside. He seems to like it. I like it. It's like he picks it up and he eats it. And if I remember the scene right, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a laser shooting into the house, and fucking Kent is just watching this happen, standing there in front of the giant Jiffy Pop, sees a laser beam shoot this giant Jiffy Pop, hears all this popping, all the shit comes popping out. He grabs it, a piece of this, and eats it, and then says, popcorn. Like, you didn't realize it was fucking popcorn before, and that there's a giant laser beam shooting this Jiffy Pop in front of you?
This is the classic, unfortunately, meant for the mass dumb audience who didn't get the fact that Jerry didn't like popcorn. That's obviously a big Jiffy Pop thingy there in the aluminum foil. So this is just to confirm what the fuck's going on. Oh, it's a big thing of popcorn they're going to heat up.
Yeah.
It's meant for the audience who couldn't catch on. At the expense of Jerry, who's supposed to be, or at the expense of Kent, who's supposed to be this genius.
Well, fuck Kent. He's a fucking asshole, so fuck him.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
It's confirmation for the audience.
I do love the gag, though. I do love the popcorn gag. I thought it was great.
I love it. My only problem with this scene, I love the practical effect. I think, to me, it didn't look like a model. It looked like the real deal. And popcorn was spilling out, and then the stuntman or the actor surfboards out with the spilling popcorn. My only issue here is because popcorn is so light, I don't believe even with the size of that Jiffy Pop machine, it would wreck the foundation of that house with pressure.
Okay.
I kind of wish that the laser, even though we see the laser penetrate the house, break through the window. I wish the laser did more of the damage. And then the popcorn just was the icing on the cake and it leaked out and that was it. But the house was mainly damaged by the popcorn, which I had a hard time.
Yeah, so I read a couple things, and even the director said they basically had to ignore the rules of the laser in order to make the gag work, because the laser just would have blown the house apart, right?
Not just that, and then the laser probably wouldn't heat the popcorn, it would have melted the popcorn, the kernels.
Yeah.
So melts steel with the statue, but popcorn somehow magically is perfectly survived and pops and is good enough for all the little neighborhood kids to take home in their wagons. So.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But to speak to the popcorn gag itself, so what's great about 1985 is that was all practical, and it was not a miniature. They built a full-size replica house. So they built a full-size house, and they filled it with popcorn. They had all of these conveyors and shit, like they had a bunch of stuff built up to blow that house up with real popcorn. That was a practical effect made with a real house and real popcorn, and and that's
awesome, and that's awesome. I love this scene visually. It's just that the physics behind it jive.
The physics of the laser don't jive,
or even the popcorn.
But they did. The popcorn did blow the house up. I mean, it wasn't a real house, but they built a full size.
That's right. So.
They didn't build it to break apart like it did.
That's my point of the house. Yeah. Solidly built. The popcorn may crack some windows. It's not going to found the house.
Not pressure.
We also have a door open, Em. Anyways, that's just...
But the door is only so big. And I mean, the coefficient of the circumference of a popcorn kernel, when it increases in size by 870%, as it does when it explodes, I think you could make the argument that... I don't know.
That's the Mythbusters episode, so let's call them up and we'll have the answer next episode, folks.
That would be fucking awesome if they did that on Mythbusters. Fucking awesome.
As per the podcast of Rare Antiquities.
That's right.
We are going to test if popcorn can destroy the foundation of a home.
The main thing is that it wouldn't pop fast enough for it to happen that quickly.
Well, just from a pressure relief standpoint, if that door is open, it's got a pathway to go. Pressure's relieved, blowing. Even if it wasn't, no way the popcorn's it'll just fill the house. It won't break the house.
I'll tell you what, I disagree, but you can prove me wrong, so I'll wait for you to... If you could send me the paper on that, and I'll give you a week. If you could send me the paper on the analysis of that, then that'd be great. Appreciate it.
Oh, so you need a calculation is what you're asking for?
Yeah, I just want the evidence. That's all.
Okay.
And if you could prove me wrong, I'll come on this podcast and say, you prove me wrong.
I actually might be able to.
Okay. I'll wait for that paper. So,
okay, it's not paper, it's calculator.
Who cares? Still a pretty cool effect, though. I can respect the practical effect that they use real popcorn.
Yes, it looked awesome.
Yeah. I think they said, I read one blurb where they said they use, at retail, not wholesale, which obviously they bought, but at retail, $1.2 million worth of popcorn.
1.2 million?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And you know I've worked in the movie theater. Like, that's a lot of popcorn.
Yes, that's a lot of popcorn.
All right, so they blew the house up. They thwarted Jerry, Professor Jerry, fucking dick. Kent he lives, but he's buried under some popcorn. Maybe he finds Jesus after this, which is what I think happens here. And then, for whatever reason, Laszlo rolls up in his RV. He's won 32.6% of the prizes of that sweepstakes. And guess who he's running away with? He's getting married, he says.
Oh, yeah, to that brainy slut, or whatever she is.
She's been looking for Laszlo for years because she needs to fucking cross another brain off her list. Brain dick off of her list. Look up for Laszlo. It's great. And that's kind of it. It's kind of the movie. That's it. It's over.
Done. It's over. You see the neighborhood kids playing in the popcorn.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think, unless you want to talk about it, you see Jerry come back.
Yep.
See his house destroyed. I'm surprised he's not being questioned by the military or whatnot. That doesn't matter. He's there to see his house. And Dog, I think, comes over there and pees on his leg, and that's it.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the only reason the military is not there to question him is because 5 minutes after the end here, Jerry is hanging from one of the joists in his house. Because that's it for him. He's done. He's toast. Yeah, that's not a good joke. But anyway, yeah, so that's the movie. There we go. That's real genius. So, give me some wrap-up thoughts there on the third act, and so we can get into our sort of overall wrap-up thoughts.
Well, third act is, to me, not very strong. From a movie perspective, like a structural perspective here. It does move fast. It doesn't linger. I like that Jerry gets his comeuppance. I think it's a clever way to get it done. They throw in that line, he hates popcorn, so we always talk about, hey, you're throwing in something, there's a payoff to it. It's paid off here very well. I like the practical effect of it. And he's always bragging about his house and dealing in. It's good. I just think that, as I talked about, I wish there was some more cleverness to this whole Air Force base fiasco. It felt a little too simple, plain, rushed. And then the end, it's a lot of forced relationships. I don't know what this movie's trying to state or be, but because of the third act here, it's like, what's the message? That weapons are bad, like it should be. Is it tying back into what Chris said earlier to Mitch? It's not just about the science, it's about philosophy, ethics, which I guess relates to ethics, and so on, in a balance. But then, as we talked about, why didn't Chris see this before? Again, maybe through his cockiness and how clever he thought he was, and that it was a complete miss over his head that he was being used in this fashion, which is fine. I just felt that this third act was not well done. It didn't do it for me. And then at the end of the whole thing, it's like, okay, well, I guess Mitch and Jordan are a couple. There's nothing there. Chris is just Chris. He passed his test. Jerry got his comeuppance. The thing didn't work. The weapon is now destroyed. Even though we had scientists from the military analyzing and looking at this thing, so I'm sure they can rebuild it. It's like, not like that's not off the table. You might have destroyed the prototype, but Jerry knows about it now. He knows about the science behind it. All these other people and techs worked on it at the Air Force Base. So what's still in their hands, technically? So you really didn't solve that issue. We were just supposed to forget about these things. So I don't like the sloppiness of the third act. Didn't do the movie justice. That's what I think.
I think I agree with a lot of that. Because the second act was hit the same beats so many times that they could have pared down the second act and then could have explored a little more in the third act, like with what you said about, okay, well, the military has the technology. They're not just going to throw it in the garbage. You're going to reverse engineer that laser and be like, okay, there's nothing wrong with it. It works perfectly. They're not dumb. They'll be able to figure that out. We could have had, nobody learns anything. There's no character growth at the end. Like, Chris doesn't learn anything. Mitch doesn't. I mean, Mitch didn't have a lot of flaws necessarily, but he still didn't grow as a character really. Yeah, and there's just Jordan. Yeah, you're right. Like, nobody really kind of got to the next level. Like, the characters basically ended the movie where they started it.
Well, I guess right? Mitch now has Jordan, so I guess there's there's some balance. You got another relationship there, but
I guess, but so what?
No, exactly. It's not really deep.
No, it's not. It's not a change in his character. It's just a child having sex with an adult is all that is. You know,
that's right.
And good for him. But what is that? Yeah, he's just scarred for life from his experience. It's like when he's 40, you'd be like, shit, man, when I was 15, this older woman tried to have sex with me, and there was this military laser, and he's a drug addict now in his 50s or whatever. He's in trouble now. He didn't grow. And who knows where Chris is now, man. Shit. He's probably running a brothel like in Vegas somewhere.
Probably.
Which I guess is fine. But yeah, they spent too much time in the second act with some of the antics and the college stuff, which is like, it's funny. They were good gags, but it was at the expense of the story's conclusion. They needed to figure out how to do that better and spend more time doing that. Like, it needed another pass. The script needed another pass, I think, to figure out some of those problems.
I think I agree with that.
Okay, before we get to our end thoughts, our final thoughts, this is a comedy. Was it funny?
Ooh, I don't think so. Atherton is funny, but not in a laugh out loud way. And I made a couple of notes here with some of Val Kilmer's, like the humor and the jokes. I don't know, he did this several times through the movie where he's laughing awkwardly, like, and they have like him and Mitch even have that scene where he's trying to make him laugh like that to enjoy life more. I get what they're trying to say, and that comes back to his serious heart-to-heart discussion with Mitch, that there's more to life than just about science. You have to enjoy yourself. You have to learn to be human. But I felt that some of the jokes, like he was almost like forcing himself to laugh, which might fit for the character because he's so awkward, but it doesn't work from an audience perspective. I can't relate to that humor, or it didn't fall the way it needed to fall to make me buy into that. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
No, I do.
It didn't resonate with me the way it should have. And I think that's not the actor's fault, it's more the writing and the direction. So I'm trying to think of humorous parts. I mean, stuff with Kent is funny, at least some of it. That might be it. I think some of the humor does fall.
That's fair enough. I think I differ from you there. I thought it was funny. I enjoyed it as a comedy. I didn't laugh out loud a lot during the movie, but I always had that sort of like, I felt the humor. And I think I don't know. This is a problem. I don't know. It's a problem with me. Modern comedies. I rarely laugh out loud at a movie. So when I'm watching a comedy, I want to feel like it's humor. Like I appreciate a good joke. I mean, I obviously want to laugh, but if you can pull off the right tone of lightheartedness and humor, like I can appreciate a good joke even if I don't laugh at it. And I felt like this movie accomplished that a lot of the time. Like I thought the jokes were good, even if I didn't laugh all the time at them. I felt the tone worked. It's like when I watched, my favorite comedy of all time is Ghostbusters. And when I watch Ghostbusters...
But see, that's different. It's witty humor.
Well, that's what I mean. But I'm not laughing out loud when I watch Ghostbusters. I'm just enjoying the wit and the humor and the wryness of it. Yes. And this isn't Ghostbusters. But I get the same kind of like, I can enjoy some of the wit.
And I'm with you. I think it's more potent and executed better in Act 1. Act 1, I feel, has some more of that wryness that you're talking about. It's more witty. I think Act 2 loses, and Act 3 has no humor except for the popcorn scene with the house. Act 2 doesn't really have a lot there. So really, you're only talking about the first 30 to 40 minutes of a 1 hour 50 minute.
Yeah, I guess. Works. I mean, I see what you're saying. It is more effectively done in the setup, the start of the movie. The first act has that, and less so later on, because it does start to get, I don't know, maybe it gets more serious. I mean, that's also one of the things that I like about the movie is that there actually are stakes. Like comedies don't often have real stakes at play. Like they're just stupid, and it's just usually about the guy getting the girl or some romantic trope. And this isn't that. This does more than that. Whether it's successful or not, I guess you could argue. But one of the things that I enjoy about some of the comedies from this era is that it's a comedy. It's obviously played for laughs. It's lighthearted, but it's also trying to still tell a real story while it's doing that.
That's a true statement. I agree with that.
Like Ghostbusters is a good example. Like Back to the Future is comedy as well.
I agree.
Telling a real story. And these are just a couple examples. But I mean, I can't think of a comedy nowadays that tries to actually do a real story with real characters and real stakes.
Well, as I said, I mean, I'm not one that goes out of my way to watch a shit ton of comedies.
Yeah.
If they come on my plate, I watch them. And in the last 2-3 years, outside of dealing with the podcast and maybe watching a couple of mainstream, I don't watch a lot of movies just because of time restraints that I have in my life. So comedies, I haven't watched that many. I think I've mentioned this before. The last movie that I felt was really kind of staying true to the story that was still funny was Knocked Up.
I think you're right about that, yeah, because that was funny, but it had, like, you could feel, like, real interpersonal stakes in a film like that, right? Yeah, like it meant something, yeah.
Yes, and like a couple of other comedies that I've unfortunately have seen have been, what is it, the other Seth Rogen movie that he's with Rose Byrne? What is it, Bad Neighbors or something?
Yeah, I've not seen it. No,
fucking terrible. Holy fuck. Fortunately, my wife wanted to watch them, so I watched them. So there you go. And then you have like the silly... still pulling Seth Rogen. I've seen a couple of his stuff. But, I mean, like, I think Knocked Up's a good example where you're still telling a true, honest story. Mm-hmm. There's a drama there. There's real relationships there. But it's humorous. It's real. It's something you can relate to. And it's got witty humor, along with some slapstick moments. But I agree with you. That's one of the reasons why Ghostbusters was so successful. It was not obvious humor. This was subtle, witty humor. And it fucking worked. It's a masterpiece of that kind of execution.
Yeah, I'll talk Ghostbusters all night long, but I agree, and I think that's why movies from this time period resonate with me, because even the slapstick stuff from this time, even the screwball stuff from this time, they still seem to try to tell real stories, and I think that's why some of these movies resonate with me. But anyway, I guess that about wraps it up for Real Genius, man. So why don't you give me your final thoughts there? Do you recommend it, and is it the rare antiquity we're looking for?
I don't think it's a rare antiquity. I'm having a hard time deciding if it's a recommend or not recommend. I did enjoy the movie for what it is, so I guess on that aspect it is a recommend. But there's so many other movies from the 80s which just trump this from a comedic perspective that I look at it that it was a bit of a disappointment and a letdown. Because I remember thinking and reading and hearing that Real Genius was... And I think it's got good ratings after I watched the movie. I think it does have some good ratings on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. I just felt that the second and third act just didn't hit it home enough for me. But I love the setup. I love the first act. I love what it was about. It just lost me in the second and third act a bit. That just pushes me under the recommend. It's not a harsh not recommend, but a bare not recommend. Just because I feel that the story, it doesn't execute properly in its second and third act enough for it to land. Because it's not just enough that it works from, okay, we got some good acting here. I'm not the biggest fan of Val Kilmer, but I think he did an okay job here. This Mitch character, who I don't know his backstory, the actor looks like he hasn't done that much, even though he might be still acting. I think he did a good job for probably what might be his biggest role or earliest roles. William Atherton did a still bang up job as the 80s asshole here, which was a treat to see. I think everyone, Kent, everyone did a good job. Even Jordan playing the Spectrum student there. Everyone was fine. Direction, I mean, there's nothing to write home about. It's a point and shoot comedy from the 80s, so you're not going to get anything real interesting. And there wasn't enough meaty aspects to it for me to say anything more outside of the performances. So it's hard for me to give me any more positives here than that. So just from a critical lens, from today's lens, it's a little hard for me. I understand if there's some nostalgic aspects to it from your perspective, you would really recommend this. But unless I watched this when I was in the 80s, looking at it now for the first time, I don't think I could give it the recommend. It's a bare not recommend. There are strengths to this. There are some good messages here. That heart-to-heart moment with Chris and Mitch. There is more to life than being a genius. You have to have balance. You have to enjoy life. You have to have relationships. I think those are good messages. It's a good theme. Outside of that, though, and the beginning, I just don't see enough strength in the second act and third act here that warrants me to give it a solid recommend. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, no, this is our 52nd episode, and usually you and I agree on. I mean, we've diverged a few times, but usually we agree. And this is not one of those times.
Surprise!
No, but that's good. Like, that's good. We usually agree, but sometimes we don't, and that's fine. I do disagree. I will recommend this movie. I think it's funny. I think it is entertaining. It's a watchable movie. It's cool to see Val Kilmer as a young, charming guy. It's not a storyline that, I don't know, the structure of the storyline isn't anything new, but it's a movie. You got a 3-act structure, so it's there. But the storyline itself, I feel, is somewhat unique. And yeah, I think it's funny. I think the characters are really well drawn. I don't know. I love the comedy from this era. I think it's good. Like, you're not always going to be slapping your knee, but you also don't have to endure dick and fart jokes for 45 to 90 minutes. Like, they do different types of humor. It's a little lower key, and I appreciate that. I feel like that type of humor also lends to rewatchability. Like, you can only watch Seth Rogen taking a dump for so many times. I don't even know if he's done that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's movies where it's just like, that's the joke. It's like, okay, like, you can only watch that so many times. I feel like the humor here has depth to it. Just to be clear, this movie's not Ghostbusters, but a movie like Ghostbusters, the humor there you can watch again and again because it doesn't gross you out, and it's not dated because it's more situational, it's more personality-based humor. And that's what we have here. It's the characters generating the humor, and I find that watchable again. And in this situation, I find it's unique. It's not screwball humor. It's not all about tits and ass and dicks and farts. It's different than that. There is some of that. I don't know. I dug it. I think it's funny. I think you should watch it. I don't think they make movies like this very often, so it's a rare antiquity for me. So, hey, we disagree. Fuck it. World's coming down around our ears. Who gives a shit?
I hear you, man. But for me, the movie's got to work in a lot of aspects. I hear what you're saying. Comedy's been dumbed down, in my opinion. I agree with you in today's comedy. So It's refreshing to see, it's not a lot of crude, lewd humor that we're seeing here. It's refreshing to go back and see something. 100% agree. But if structurally the movie doesn't work, it doesn't execute properly and cross that finish line, that's where I come from. I'm trying to look at it from, it's got to go from point A to point B to point C across all 3 acts here. They do it by acts. I just don't think it made it across the finish line. Maybe halfway it went, and then it sputtered the rest of the way.
Yeah.
That's where I come from.
You're not wrong. Like, there are structural defects to this film, and I think we highlighted those, and like, I don't disagree. Like, for me, I don't know, there's sometimes it's hard for me to articulate it. Sometimes there are movies that, like, for me, work in spite of their problems, and almost sometimes they're almost better because they can overcome their problems. I can't think of another example off the top of my head. You know what? I watched, and this is a total divergence, I watched 2001 recently, and 2001 is a great film. Looks great, good performances, and if you actually pay attention to the storyline of 2001, it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's dog shit. But it's one of those movies that kind of like succeeds despite its problems, and I find beauty in that. Like, it's flawed, and yet it's still great.
Yeah, I hear what you're coming from, and I agree with that.
Christopher Nolan's films are a good example, like the Batman films and like Inception. Like, there are movies that have like big, serious problems, but they're so fucking good. Like, it's almost like a Persian flaw. It's like, it's beautiful because it's not perfect. And maybe that's lofty words to put onto a movie like Real Genius from 1985 with fucking Val Kilmer and William Atherton. But I don't know. To me, it feels like it's a movie that succeeds, not necessarily despite its flaws, because of its flaws. I don't know. And
I think that's fine. That's a valid point.
And that's the great thing about the show, man. There's something for everybody. They can agree with you. They can agree with me. Pick one. Everybody wins. So, all right. We'll call it on Real Genius. I think that's a podcast, man. I think that's a podcast right there. So we're going to do a little bit of a special episode next time. Why don't you tell us what we have in store for the listening faithful next time?
Well, sir, you and I sometimes don't shy away from controversy. So we are going to talk about Todd Phillip and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, which is going to be released this weekend coming up here. So hopefully we'll dive deep into that one. It's churned up a lot of controversy prior to its mainstream public release here. So I think we haven't seen the film. I don't know much about spoilers or what it's about. So I just know about all the news stuff that's been happening around this movie heading into its public release, mass release. So I think it's going to be a fantastic podcast. Hopefully it will be. It's something I've been looking forward to on the calendar since it's been announced over the last year. So we're here, and it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see Phoenix's interpretation of the Clown Prince of Crime.
Yeah, there's been a lot of press. I am really looking forward to watching this film, and we'll dive in. I haven't seen it yet, and I already have lots to say.
Yes.
But I don't want to ruin it. You know what I mean? I think it's a movie that's tailor-made for this show, and hopefully we'll do it justice.
Yes, hopefully so. That's it for today, Geoff.
Yeah.
We're almost at 3 hours here, so I'll see you after Joker.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll see you on the flip side, and thanks for doing it, man. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, you too. It was fun.
Yeah, you're welcome.